Hey, what's up, guys? This is Fariko, and what an amazing event thus far. The only downside is that Optic Gaming got eliminated early. Really sad. Really bummed out. I really wanted them to do well. I wanted them to face Envy in the winners bracket, and it just didn't happen. They lost to adversity. They went to the losers bracket, and they ended up getting eliminated in the second round of the losers bracket, and it was really unfortunate that they weren't part of the mix of the top, 8 or 4 teams. Really sad about that. I really wanted them to do well. I know Nadeshot, he's been really focusing on doing better in COD Ghost. But having said that, okay, let's go to the winners bracket. And what a great day of, heavyweight matchups. First off, Complexity against TCM in the quarters. That was amazing. TCM is a European team, one of the top European teams next to Epsilon. And it was a very close, even though they won 3-0, it was extremely close. The first domination, Complexity ended up coming back from like 20 some odd points, ended up winning by 1 point. That was pretty incredible. And then in Search and Destroy, they won 6-5. And then in Blitz, they went to overtime, and they won 5-3. That was amazing. And then Complexity ended up. Well, let's see. Let's go to Envy. So Envy played Adversity. That was also a close match. Went down to the last Search and Destroy, and Envy was down, I think 5-3, and then ended up coming back, winning 6-5 to move on to face Complexity. And Curse Las Vegas with Parasite. I'm not sure what's going on with them. They're really struggling right now. They're having a hard time figuring out the various teams' game plan right now, and they lost to Kaliber, and Kaliber ended up making it to the semis. And then Unite Gaming, they also struggle. They've been struggling. I'm not sure if it's because different looks that teams are giving them, but they struggle against Fuse, and then they got, brought down to the losers bracket side. And then Kaliber had a pretty easy time with Fuse, and then so they made it to the finals of the winners bracket. And the match between Complexity and Envy was pretty amazing. Envy actually went up 2-1, and then they were playing domination on that one map. I forgot what it was called. It's the one with that machine that goes back and forth, and it's really close quarters. It's inside, the whole map is inside a building. I forgot what it was called, but anyways, Envy in the first round of domination, they were up by, I believe, 11 points, but Complexity dominated the second part of it and ended up tying the series 2-2. And then they went to Search and Destroy on Warhawk, and that was an awesome matchup. Complexity jumped ahead 2-0. Envy brought it back. Envy went ahead. They tied it up, and then Complexity went up 5-4. And Envy came back, tied it 5-5. And then the Complexity was able to clutch it on the offensive side, 6-5. And Complexity will face Team Kaliber on Championship Sunday. Ooh, I'm out of breath. That was an exciting matchup. I mean, the other matchups were okay. Like Envy against Adversity was really fun. As far as like the other quarters weren't as exciting, but Complexity against TCM was super exciting. And then Complexity and Envy, that matchup felt like a Championship Sunday finals matchup. That was awesome. And Karma, props to Karma. He really went off. He single-handedly really carried Envy in that Search and Destroy 5th game. He almost did it, but Complexity they just have that fortitude, and it's not luck. It's about your mentality in pressure situations, and Complexity. They've developed this instinct that when it's clutch moments, they're able to overcome any kind of like fears or fear of losing. They don't have that kind of mindset. you know, they make plays, and you know, they play solid. You know, that's what puts them over the hump over so many other teams. They're able to come back, and you know, it was just an amazing matchup. So Complexity against Kaliber on Championship Sunday, as far as the winners bracket, that's a tough. It's tough to call because, you know, Kaliber, they've been practicing together quite a bit. I think they went to, I think I forgot whose house. I don't think it was Gunjar's house. It was, I think Magundi. What the hell was his name? Oh, anyways, there was, you know, one of the teammates' house, and they practiced quite a bit, and it really showed. You know, they really, I mean, besides Epsilon, they really destroyed the other teams. So, you know, it's gonna be pretty interesting because, you know, one advantage Complexity has over Kaliber is that they have, you know, overnight to look at. Well, the team is not gonna look at tape. Mr. X, you know, the coach of Complexity, is probably gonna look at tape overnight and see, you know, what type of strategy Kaliber is running, and he's probably gonna come up with tips for his team, and you know, things to watch out for, things like that Kaliber likes to do, and you know, things of that nature. So it'll be interesting. It's gonna be tough to call. You know, I almost want to say Kaliber is gonna win it just because, you know, they've really been solid, and you know, their teamwork has been really on point. So I don't know. I want to call Kaliber, but you know, it's hard to discount Complexity. They're just sometimes they'll have, you know, matches where they really play loose, you know, overly loose, and they just play sloppy sometimes, and it gives the other team momentum, and you know, that's how they get into these close matches a lot of times. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how it works out. And then, you know, Envy still has a chance, great chance from the losers bracket to come back, you know, to the championship match. And I'm rooting for Envy to do that. They look super solid, you know, this whole weekend. They've been, you know, I mean, obviously they've had a lot of close games, but they've, you know, before, like, Envy used to choke a lot of these close matches, but you know, they've been doing really well in these close situations. And you know, it was just kind of sad they lost to Complexity in that search and destroy. But you know, I'm not gonna discount Envy. I think, you know, they have a really good shot. But man, Optic, they just gotta figure something out, because right now they're not even like middle of the pack. They're like, you know, middle and down. It's really sad to see that. Optic really needs to, you know, viewership really goes down when Optic is not playing, and a lot of these Optic fans, well, I'm an Optic fan as well, but I'm more of a fan of, you know, competitive gaming or COD gaming, and you know, a lot of these Optic fans, they just sort of tune out every other team when Optic's not playing, which is sort of unfortunate, because you know, you should be a fan of the sport. I mean, of course you can be a fan of, you know, whatever team, but for the betterment and growth of, you know, competitive Call of Duty, you should be a fan of the sport, and you know, watch these other teams, you know, respect these other teams, and see what they're doing, see why Optic is struggling. You know, maybe you know, as fans, you know, you can support your team, but don't support them blindly. You know, you have to have a critical eye, and you know, be a smart fan, basically, is what I'm saying. You know, don't be so close-minded and think that, you know, they can't do anything wrong. Anyways, Championship Sundays is gonna be awesome. You know, it's not as, to me, it's not as exciting as Black Ops 2 as far as the you know, the matches. Like Search and Destroy, obviously, you know, is very exciting, but you know, Blitz, you know, if it's close, it can be exciting, but a lot of times, you know, it's sort of lopsided, and it's not as, you know, that much fun to watch. And same thing with Domination. You know, you're so spread out. You have that spawn delay. There's not as much action going down. So Hardpoint in Ghost would have been amazing, with the way how fast the guns kill, and just it would be so action packed. It would have elevated, you know, competitive gaming just that much more. Anyways, talk to you guys later. Bye.